Hello wonderful people, it's Wild here. Today I'll be showing you how to create a sniffer house. I'll be showing you step by step how to create this build inspired by Minecraft's new seed sniffing creature, so let's get creating. The materials you'll need for this build are on your screen now. Keep in mind that as there is a lot of texture in this build, I've got items grouped together. Where it says you need a group of items, that means that number total of those items, not separately. It's also a good idea to have a few extra of each item so that way you can customize the textures to suit your desired look. Here is the space you'll need for this build. You can see that the feet are marked in there, there's 6 there, and they're 1 block apart and then 3 blocks for the row. You'll also need to allow a space which is 19 by 13 around the feet for the body of the sniffer. I'm going to be removing these blocks before I get building, but you can put in these placeholder blocks for the feet as they'll be covered up and they might help you locate where you're going to put this build. Let's remove this border and get building. We're going to start by building the feet of our little sniffer. For this I'm using a mixture of mud and cobbled deep slate, and I'm just placing these in random patterns like this. It's up to you how much mud and deep slate you use per foot. The idea here is we just want to add a little bit of texture. So each of these feet is a 2 block by 2 block cube. And we're on the last one now. There we go, we've got all of our feet in. Now we're going to connect up the feet with the base of our house. I'm using a mixture of stripped mangrove wood and mangrove planks, as well as some netherrack to fill in this gap. Now you could use the mangrove logs, which is a little bit more cost effective in survival, but you'll need to make sure that you're covering up this kind of interior texture of the log as you go. So if I was to place one here, I need to be placing it in this direction. Whereas with the wood, it doesn't matter where you place it because we've got the bark texture on all of the sides. So you can see I'm connecting up around the outline to create a rectangle, and then I'll fill in the rest of this space using some cobbled deep slate slabs. So it should look like this from above. Next we're going to start working on the walls of this body of our sniffer. Keep in mind that I'm starting on this front facing side and the head's going off towards the left. I'm using some stairs and slabs, mangrove ones that is, as well as our other red blocks to achieve a frilled edge like we see on the sniffer. Now keep in mind that if you don't have exactly the same pattern as mine, that's totally fine. You just want to be aiming for a kind of curved edge like this with lots of texture. Now I'm going to start filling in these sides, and I'm building up too high with these red materials now. Mixing up and incorporating the blocks as I go. Just like this. Next I'm going to work on the other long side of the body. So I've rotated round to the back now. And I'm going to do a similar thing, except I'm going to have a slightly different pattern on this side for a more natural look. So here's how this side looks. Now I'm going to do the back of our sniffer. So this is on the right hand side when you're looking from the front. And we only need to connect these two sides here. also going to add in my way to get up. I'm building down the red blocks here so I can have a ladder, and then I'll be placing a mangrove door on top of this. Back is then done. And for the front of the body of the sniffer, we're going to do something a little bit different so we can allow for a walkway into the next part of the build. So I'm going to be building up along the edge, creating a frill like we had before. Just like that. And then I'm going to come one in on either side, building up that 2 high. And then I'll come inside the build and fill in here with 5 stairs, just like that. When you look from the outside, it looks like this. Now we're going to switch over to some green stained glass and green terracotta, and we're going to add in our windows. I'm starting on the 2 sides, and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3 back from the back side of the build. And then 2 in, 1, 2 from the front. I'll also count 2 in from the side, so I'm diagonal up from this door, 1, 2, and I've placed in all my windows now. Now I'm going to switch to the green terracotta and build up a total of 5 high, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and fill in the walls all the way around. You can see here at the front of the build, where we're going off towards the head, I'm leaving that section open for the walkway. If you're enjoying today's tutorial, I'd really appreciate if you consider liking and subscribing, and check out my Patreon if you'd like to support me more and get some awesome benefits like playing with me and building on my Patreon server. Now that these walls are in, I'm going to fill in this roof again with the green stained terracotta. There we go, we've got the base structure of our sniffer body in. Now we're going to start working on our sniffer's head. We're going to start by creating a 3x7 rectangle at the height of these stairs. So that should extend 1 to either side of this opening. And as we did before with the red part of the body, I'll be randomizing the texture using mangrove planks, some netherrack, and some stripped mangrove wood. And you can see I'm breaking and replacing these blocks as I go to get a texture that I'm happy with, and you can do just the same thing. I'll take a step back. I think I want to move some of these blocks over a little bit, and I think I'll swap these 2 around. There we go, I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to grab some moss blocks and I'm going to extend out over the edge like this, and then I'm going to switch to some yellow concrete and yellow wool and create another 3x7 rectangle. Once again, randomizing the texture as I go. Now here I'm aiming to have more of the yellow wool than the yellow concrete, as it has a brighter color that works better for this part of the build. Like this. Next I'm going to grab some yellow terracotta and go around the edge of this yellow snout section. I'll switch to some brown terracotta to add in his little nose like this. And then I want to fill in the rest of the walls up to the same height using my concrete and wool. Once again, don't be afraid to go back in and change the placement of your blocks once you've put them in. I'll also fill in the roof section of this part of the build. There we go, our sniffer's snout is done. Continuing on with the rest of his head, I'm going to build up another 2 with my moss blocks, then another grouping of 2, and come over the top of the snout, and then I'll go up and do the same thing on the other side. So we've got a band of moss like this. Now we need to start adding in the sides of his head. We're going to go back to our red materials here, and I'm going to start placing these in, leaving a 2-block gap here for where his eye is going to go. So I'll stop at this point here. I've grabbed out my nether bricks so I can place in his eye, and I'm going to go around to the other side and do the same thing. So we should have 2 shapes like this. For the top of his head, I'm going to come across the front using my red materials, and I'm placing this directly on top of the moss blocks, like that. And then I want to fill in this 3 by, I believe, 7 rectangle that will fill in the top of this roof. Just like that. Now I need to fill in this gap here and start adding some texture and dimension to the sides of our sniffer. I've got some green wool, some moss blocks, some mango leaves, and some jungle leaves. I'm going to come inside the build for this first part, and don't forget, if you're in survival, you want to light up the build so you don't get things spawning. And I'm going to build up and fill in this gap here with my moss blocks. So when I come outside the build again, you can see that there is a little gap here, but it is filled in with a small dip. Now we'll be filling in this gap using a mixture of our materials. Now it's up to you the mixture you use, but I'm just going to be switching between these blocks as I go. I like to have the materials in little groupings. I just think it gives it a more natural look, but you can place the materials however you like to get the look you think looks best. You can see I've filled in this gap now. I've filled in the corners as well. So now let's get working on the sides of the build. I'll be showing you how I go about doing each of these sides, but remember, for this random texture, it doesn't have to be exactly the same. We are going to be bringing the green down a little bit in front of this red, and you want to make sure that when you're placing your blocks on the side here, that you always put a leaf block in front of the window. That way you can still see through. So let's get placing. I'm going to start by going in with some leaves. I think I'll put some mangrove leaves in here, and some jungle leaves as well. Keep in mind that depending on your biome, your leaves are going to have slightly different colors. So if you want to have this really lush green color, avoid building this in a swamp. I'm also going to be extending the leaves out a little bit to fill in these corners as well as on the top. Like that. I'm on the back side of the build now, and I'm once again going to start with some leaves. Got the side covered, now I'm going to add in my little extra bits. Filling in some corners and joining it up to where we will be adding on the roof later. Just like that. Now we'll do the back side of the sniffer. Reference, I'm starting here where we've got these 2 moss blocks coming down. And now I'm going to move in and I'm going to start placing in some more moss blocks. There we go. Add a couple bits in here at the top. I've got to add some moss here and some more leaves. Now let's do the roof. I'm going to start by adding some more leaves to the roof here. And I'm going to be connecting up the sections that I've got joining on from the walls as I create my roof here. And don't be afraid to take a step back and change up the placement of some things as you go. You just want to be aiming for a look you are happy with. Let's see, I think I'll move this up this way and then come along to here. I'm going to grab some moss out now and keep building. Two more blocks. And there we go. Now that we've got the dimension added to the sides, I'm going to go in with a few more leaves and drape them down over in front. This is going to add even more texture and make our sniffer look even more lush. I'm also bringing these up on top and I'm placing these relatively haphazardly, thinking about where they might drape down naturally. Taking a step back as I'm placing these, making sure I'm happy with the distribution. And I'm going to do this all the way around the build. By layering up the leaves here, you're getting a mixture of textures as you can see through the leaves to the blocks behind. I'm also going to bring some of these in front towards the head of the sniffer. And add in a few more. Alright, I think I'm happy with that. Now our Sniffer's looking really good, but he's missing one very important feature, his super cute ears, so let's add those in. I'm going to come to the side of his head and count 2 blocks in and place in 2 mangrove stairs like this. Then I'll come down and place in 2 of my red blocks. Come underneath and place in some mangrove stairs and some more stairs facing forward. And now I need to fill in another 2 by 2 square, but I'm going to use a little bit of green this time. I've got my moss and my green wool. So that's one ear done. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Except when I'm placing in these blocks, I'm going to randomize my texture so it's a little bit different this time. Going in with my stairs. And some green. I'm going to raise everything up a little bit. Let's see, there we go. Look at our Sniffer with his super cute ears. So you can see, to decorate this build, I've gone with a really natural look. To me, a Sniffer is at home in the plains looking for some seeds, so I've kept the planting quite open and I've used lots of grass and natural flowers around the build. I've also placed in some beetroot plants which tie in well with the colours of the Sniffer, and I've added in some natural looking pathways and some seating. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing, and check out my Patreon if you'd like to support me further. I'll see you in another video.